Hi, this is David Lasher from Keen 360. Welcome to an overview of our solution for legislative tracking. This solution complements our constituent services solution, and it allows organizations, public or private sector, to track and influence legislation and public policy as might be their missions. In this quick overview, we'll be looking at legislative bills themselves within the solution, the concepts or entities that are necessary to put bills in their context, such as legislative sessions and districts, the players and actors who are important in public policy and legislative action, such as committees and elected members, positions as captured from either individuals or organizations and then can be leveraged through automations for alerts and reporting. Also, we'll be looking at the ability to conduct your own polls with people or organizations that you target and want to solicit their opinions. And finally, we'll close on how documents, whether press releases or position papers, can be drafted, reviewed, and eventually published on the platform. This solution, like all Keen 360 solutions in the CRM space, is powered by the Creatio platform for BPM, Business Process Management, and CRM, Constituent or Customer Relationship Management. The low-code platform might not be well known to you, but it is well regarded and well rated by industry experts and analysts such as Gartner, as we see here. Let's jump into the solution. What we see here is a listing of all of the legislative bills that were introduced during the 2020 session of the Maryland General Assembly. We can see that there were nearly 2,800 of them. This data comes from the Legislative Services Organization within the General Assembly. They expose the data, we import it, parse it, and make it available to the users of the system. When we bring the data in for the individual bills, we track each bill through its life cycle. As we can see here, we put summary information to the left for quick reference. We have the abstract for the bill that we get from Legislative Services, along with some categorization as to the subject or topic of the bill. And for example, this information doesn't come from us. It comes from, in Maryland, the Department of Legislative Services. We bring that information in as it is. The core of our solution is tracking each bill through its life cycle, as we can see up here. These life cycles are of many steps. Start with ideation, as we see on the left, move through introductions and readings in committee, floor votes, cross-reference to other, cross-referral to other chambers, and eventually the bill goes or doesn't go to the governor and either becomes or doesn't become law. Of course, the vast bulk fall into the latter category. If there are related bills or amendments, we can capture them. This is just system information for super users. We also capture who the sponsor or sponsors are, whether they are individual members or whether they are delegations that are putting the bill forward. As the bill moves through its life cycle and gets referred to committee or committees, we track that, and we also collect when the hearings are and put them on a special legislative calendar for our team. As we'll be discussing and showing in a few minutes, we can also capture the positions that individuals or organizations express on the bills that we are tracking. The key here is that we bring in the bills, all the related information, track them through their life cycle so that we can create alerts and reports that are the basis for value-added services to those whom we serve in regard to either legislative bills or, again, as we'll show, questions of public policy. In other words, it doesn't have to be a legislative bill that we are tracking. It can be a more general question related to multiple bills on a question relating to society, the economy, whatever it might be. To part the veil for just a moment and see what's behind the scenes, the BPM engine of Creatio allows us to create automations for bringing data into the system, processing it, and even though it's not shown here, there could easily be steps for sending alerts, generating reports, again, other value-added activity. This, behind the scenes, is how we make the work happen through what's called the process designer. Now, what's important to realize is that something like a legislative session is not an unimportant piece of information within a system like this. We set up the sessions not as mere attributes on a bill, but as actual entities within the system. In other words, as we can see here, after we define the basics about a legislative session, when it starts, when it ends, this upcoming session in the recent session within 2020 was the 441st session of our General Assembly. I myself do live in Maryland. So after we collect the basic information, connect to the chambers that are set up as organizations or accounts in the system, we can then add the caucuses that belong to the chambers and the delegations as well. Obviously, if there were other relevant organizations, they could be added here too. It is in this way that as the membership of the caucuses or the delegations changes over time, we stay current on who is and isn't active within any given session. In similar manner, we also set up districts as proper objects within the system so that we can manage their data and track changes over time. What changes? Well, after censuses and redistricting, the districts themselves change. Membership changes over time. And what we want to be able to do is track who the current and past members of the district might have been. Also critical to this type of solution in this domain of politics and policy is being able to set up all of the players or actors, whether they be organizations such as we're looking at right now, or people, individuals that we'll look at in a second. We go into greater detail in our video on our constituent services solution, but in short, with this platform and the Keen 360 information architecture for this domain, we are able to model and maintain the branches of government, the jurisdictions within any entity like the state of Maryland, and all of the relationships between them. These are complexities that not all CRM platforms are able to handle. And as we can see here, even though I'm not going to step into them, we have the assembly itself, the different offices of the members, the different caucuses. All of these are predefined queries that we click on and are able to have the filtered data at our fingertips for viewing, using, reporting, etc. Now, those were the organizations. These are the actual people or individuals. In this case, what we're looking at, I've got a filter active, are the current legislators as of summer-fall 2020 in Maryland of the General Assembly. For each member, as we can see here, we can collect and maintain all of the communication information, their assignments to committees, and their membership on boards of community organizations. The capabilities are quite robust and quite impressive, and again can be seen in our video on our constituent services solution, which is a sibling to this legislative tracking solution. Now, the other type of individuals that are critical to the legislative or policy domain are stakeholders, individual stakeholders, whether they be constituents of a legislative or executive office, or whether they be clients of a lobbying firm, members of an advocacy group or a think tank. And what we have here is a sample record of an individual, a contact, whom we've named Conrad Constituent. And what we want to show here within context of legislative tracking is our ability to capture for any individual, and it could be an organization as well, for any individual, what their positions are. In this case, we have a notional bill for demo or testing purposes called HB 123, a good bill for a good economy for our great state. And for this constituent, what we've done is we've captured opposition and support for the bill. This is duplicative because this is for demo purposes. In order to capture an individual's position on a bill. We go up to the top. We have a number of processes that we can run, but we pick capture the individual's position on a bill. And it is as easy as putting in the bill number, finding the bill, and indicating the position taken. Just to show different from what we were looking at, I'll choose neutral, even though people typically do not make the effort to register their neutrality on any question or bill. Close it. And what we can see is that we've added to what we had already captured the neutrality on this particular bill. Again, the data doesn't make entire sense because we're doing a demo here. From this functionality, from having the legislative bills in the system, from being able to define a question of public policy, and being able to connect to individuals and organizations, we begin to suspect the power that can come from the automations in the system. Those automations are typically alerts, solicitations for further information, and reporting so that we have insight on how our stakeholder group, the audiences with which we are concerned, are leaning or tilting on any given bill or issue. One of the ways that we can use the data that we have collected is we can call up any given bill. Again, we're looking at our notional or for demonstration purposes, HB 123. We can step into it. And this is the supporters of HB 123. And we can see a list of all the individuals who have indicated their support. Likewise with organizations that have done the same. From this, we can run reports, which reports show tallies of who supports what. We can even print these out on a map or show them on a map, the distribution of where support, opposition, neutrality is coming from. Very powerful functionality from the combination of the Creatio platform, its automations, and the information architecture that we, Keen 360, have put on top of it. And now, let's see how we can either solicit or record the positions of individuals or organizations on the bills or issues of the day. What we're looking at here is the functionality for generating and running a vote or a poll. This functionality might be for a whip in a caucus. It might be for an office that wants to see how its constituents are standing on a given question. It might be for an advocacy group that wants to see how its members feel on a particular issue. And what we're able to do, this is the tally that we're looking at after we have issued the poll. But what we do is we set up the poll, again, a notional one for demonstration purposes. We can attach it to a legislative bill if we want to, though it could just be a general question. We set a start date and an end date, even though we don't show one right here. And then we define through either automated or manual processes the members or the scope of the poll. This is somewhat like SurveyMonkey, but in the context of a legislative bill or a question of public policy. Once we have our participants, then through automated processes, we can send them an email soliciting their opinions. We can send them a link to a landing page so that that can be the place in which they register their response. Obviously, again, this can create a sense of participation for your stakeholders. It can also provide insight for your office or the principals whom you serve. Finally, as we move quickly through the highlights of the functionality in the solution, let's look at what's available to draft, review and approve, and eventually publish a document. The documents might be a press release, might be a white paper, could be any kind of publication that your office or team generates and then releases. In this case, we've got, again, a notional white paper. You can see it's a position paper as the document type. We have others loaded in here. That's called the state of our economy. And what we can do is follow this document through its life cycle again. And as after the ideation process and the initial drafting, the person who is responsible for that draft can submit to those indicated in the system who are approvers. and the approval requests go out in automated fashion. I have sent one to myself. If I was an approver, I would get an alert and I could approve it as simply as this, though of course I should look at the document. This is called the communication panel. On the right, we're not going to go in depth, but it's a great convenience within the platform. After all the approvals have been received, the document is ready for publication and can go out to any list of individuals in the system via email or other means. Part of the attraction of this solution, this functionality, is that besides it being automated and therefore efficient, is that we have timestamps for auditing purposes in the future to see who did and didn't participate in the production of the document. There's considerably more functionality related to document development and management within the platform, but this video is not the time that we are going to dive into it. The goal here has been to indicate that in the context of legislative tracking and seeking to influence legislative outcomes or public policy outcomes, we have the ability to do our document management and our press releases or paper publications within the platform. Our Keen 360 pre-configured application, again, a sibling to the constituent services application, is, as we have emphasized, powered by the Creatio BPM and CRM platform. It is a modern low-code platform for quick implementation, ongoing maintenance, and quite affordable costs. The heart of the platform is the business process management engine, as we got a glimpse of. And what I would add is that the functionality that we saw where different objects, whether a document or a legislative bill, when they were moving through their life cycle, we have the ability to fire off alerts and create tasks and trigger other automations through what is called dynamic case management on the platform. So for automations, when they are structured, if-then, systematic kinds of processes, we have what is called the process designer. When the processes are what I call gently orchestrated and depend on many non-system decisions and activities, we have the case manager for coordinating the activities, but still having tracking and automations. And finally, because relevant to this domain, this solution, I would emphasize that there is a mobile app available as part of the application, not a special add-on. The mobile app is available at the Android and Apple stores for your mobile devices. It makes accounts and contacts, activities and meetings, legislative bills, whatever information is in the system, it makes it available on your mobile device as well, online and offline through synchronization as needed, and to repeat, as an included part of the platform and the pricing thereof. If you found this overview to be intriguing, if you think that this solution might solve problems for your organization, might help you deliver service both more efficiently and effectively, then we hope you will reach out to us. We can arrange a more deliberately paced demo in which we dive into the functionality that is of most interest to you and your organization. We can be reached at this email, info@keen360.com, or you can go to our website, keen360.com, and the contact page and submit us a request along these lines right here. Again, we appreciate you spending time with us, hope you were interested, and look forward to hearing from you. Goodbye.